Oh, ik ben kankerdom. Kanker, hé. Oké. Kankerjeut. Crisis. Ik hoor het.
To use. As of the time of recording this video, it is only available in beta and preview versions. However, I will explain how you will be able to get this on any Minecraft version, including PlayStation, Switch, Pocket Edition, and Xbox, once it is fully...
Dik is zo weer naar alle beseffers. We hebben hier weer een stuk of 5 pallets die vol zitten. Dikke is zo naar jullie. En deze week, de pre-order van Opgepompt komt woensdag binnen. Al heb ik het 5, dus het is echt op maat gemaakt. Profiteer daar ook van, want het is ook online.
Wat hou ik toch van mijn broker, mensen, waarmee ik al jarenlang optreed en waarmee ik een partnerschap mee heb natuurlijk. Hebben jullie gezien wat er op het spel zit? Momenteel ook een ronde 3. En oprecht man, want ik ga naar huis. Ik weet niet of jullie het beseffen, maar buiten dat je cash maakt, gewoon simpelweg door te kopiëren en te plakken, heb je ook kans op zulke leeggemaakt.
Hey everyone, it's Charlie Morgan here, and in today's video I'm going to teach you how to actually focus. How to sit down and work for 10 to 12 to 14 hours on end every single day without getting burned out or confused or lost or distracted or otherwise sidetracked. This is a deadly skill to develop, and the reason it's such a deadly skill to develop and the reason it's going to add so much value to your life and your progress is because no one knows how to do it. The best places to get advantages in business and life and in competition is where everyone else is weak, if that makes sense. We can understand this from Sun Tzu's The Art of War: fight the enemy on unfamiliar territory, right? And what that basically means is if we're competing with a group of people, which you are, if you're a man or a woman in the 21st century, the first principle of business is competition, right? You're competing with people, and what that means is you need to understand your competition and understand how to gain a huge asymmetric point of leverage over them, which is basically an advantage in the form of focus, because no one knows how to do it. No one knows how to just sit down and work these days. I mean, look at yourself, man, woman. You've probably already scrolled down to the comments of this video, and you're fighting the urge to scroll down again. You've already checked out the sidebar of this video to see what you're going to click on next. Your phone's within arm's reach with notifications on buzzing at you. You've got music playing, or people, like, your life is just nuts. You know, it's not normal. It's insane. You probably can't even go to the toilet without taking your phone with you. You probably can't drive for 5 minutes without listening to music. You probably can't even work out without being on your phone or texting someone. You probably can't even sit down and read a book. You try and sit down right now and read a page of a book, for crying out loud. Like, we have lost the ability to concentrate and maintain a singular point of focal attention using our 5 senses on one thing. And if you can regain the skill and learn how to do that, then you can end up making a lot of money and making huge levels of progress in your life and in your business, so you can have the life that you want and ultimately achieve financial freedom. Financial freedom is near enough impossible to achieve without focus. And so today I'm actually going to walk you through 5 things that you can do that no one's probably told you to do before, right? That are new and that you can actually use. It's not about the Pomodoro technique, or it's not about like chunking. It's not about like all these productivity hacks and the things that you find in these books. It's not about habits. There's 5 things that I've learned to do, and those 5 things have made me a multi-millionaire by the age of 25. And I can tell you that all of the other successful people that I know do these 5 things, and if you follow them and learn them, you're going to make a lot of money. To contextualize this and to actually give you some idea of the fact that I know what I'm talking about, this is how much money I made yesterday. This is one of my phones. I don't know if you can see that there, but every day, if you have Stripe on your phone, it will send you a notification of how much you made yesterday. So you can see in my notification center, that's there. I think yesterday we made about 24,000 pounds, so like, I don't know, $28,000 or something. And that's a pretty regular occurrence, you know. So that's what's possible when you learn how to actually pay attention and concentrate. So let's get into it. So I've got some points on this phone that I'm going to ironically use to run you through this video. But if you learn to do this, you will just completely destroy everyone. So let's actually start by understanding what focus actually is. Like, what are we dealing with here, right? I'm just going to bring this whiteboard here, and I'll bring this, there we go, okay. Right, so what is this thing? You know, what actually is focus? Well, focus is basically, it might seem intuitive and it might seem easy to understand, but if you observe it, focus is simply not being distracted, right? So if you're trying to learn how to focus, instead of trying to learn how to just concentrate or put all of your attention and cognitive conscious awareness onto one thing, just try to not be distracted. Because often the easiest way to achieve something is through its opposite, right? And that's called inversion. It's a pretty handy mental model that a lot of billionaires and successful people that I know use. So we can achieve focus through a lack of distraction. But we'll get there in a second, right? For now, I want to stay focused, ironically, and walk you through something. So focus is basically a force multiplier for your work, right? And a force multiplier is simply like an exponent, and of course my whiteboard pen's going to give up now, right? So focus is essentially a force multiplier. And what this means is it basically acts as an exponent or a multiplier to a variable, right? And so if you say, for example, if you do 1 hour of work, right? And this is you over here doing an hour of work, right? And if I do 1 hour of work, right? We are going to have varying levels of productivity. So let's say, for example, that in 1 hour, you know, we both get set the same task, and it might be the case that I complete it 10 times over in 1 hour and you only complete it once. Or let's say we get given a book to read, right? It might be the case that in 1 hour you can only read 20 pages and I might be able to read 100 pages, right? The thing is, the thing that people don't understand here about work is everyone thinks it's about how many hours you put in. Like, everyone's all about 10,000 hours, and I work 12 hours a day, I work 7 days a week. You know, it doesn't really matter, because what we can observe here is different results. This person, if I give you the example of person 1 here, if this is person 1, person 2, if you're both given a book to read, right, and this person reads 20 pages in 1 hour, and this person reads 40 pages in 1 hour, well, this person's done 2 times as much work, right? Well, how can this be? Because they both have the same amount of time allocated and allotted to this activity. So how can this person have done twice the work as this person? And it can get even more extreme than this, because we could have this person over here, person 3, and they could read like 100 pages, which is a 5x multiplier. And, you know, what's the difference? They've all got the same amount of time. Well, the difference It's a whiteboard. I'm going to have to buy a new one because this is an absolute nightmare to use, I'm afraid. But the difference is the level of focus they have, right? So the point that I'm trying to make here is you have 24 hours in the day, right? 8 of those hours you're going to be sleeping, and 4 of those hours you're going to be attending what I'm just going to call biological imperatives, right? You're eating, you're socializing, you're doing things that basically keep you sane. In fact, we could even extend this to probably 6 hours because I'd count a biological imperative as relaxing or socializing or talking to people or, doing whatever you need to do to just make sure that your brain doesn't go haywire, right? So really what this means is if we have 8 and 6, well, that's not 12, that's definitely not 12. But if we take these 14 hours, these are 14 hours that we cannot really do anything in, right? To sleep well and be a healthy human, we probably need to spend about 14 hours a day doing that, right? So what this means is we are left, after our biological imperatives, we're left with 10 hours, really. And how you use those 10 hours determines the quality of your life. And this is 10 hours to essentially work on a business, right, to make money. And life basically is all about how much you get out of these 10 hours. And if you want to learn how to get the most out of the small amount of time that you've been given on this planet, well, you need to learn how to focus, right? It's so important because we all have the same amount of time in the day, right? We all have the same, clock. We all get 24 hours. We all probably get about 10 hours to do what we really want to do with working and stuff like that. So how is it that some people are dead broke and can't even read a page of a book without getting distracted and having to go to a dirty website, but there's some people who are like billionaires and can read a whole book in one sitting without even thinking or blinking, right? Well, it's all about focus. So the point I'm trying to make here is focus is a force multiplier. So if we think about this like a graph, right? So here we have unit of productivity, like this. Here we have focus, and here we have hour. So let's just say, let's just put this as time, right? So we have a unit of focus, we have a unit of time, and we have a unit of production, or a unit of productivity, which is you actually getting stuff done. So let's say we've got this person here, person 1, person 2, and person 3. 3, 2, 1, right? And we want to measure how productive they're actually being, like how many units of productivity they're producing, right? So let's say we're all giving them the same amount of time. They all get, let's just say, to keep it simple, they all get, 10 units of time, right? This is the 10 hours, essentially, right? But the thing is they need to learn to focus. So if person number 1 only has 2 units of focus, and person number 2 only has 4 units of focus, but person number 3 has 9 units of focus, right? Well, what's going to happen? Because most people, when they're thinking about success and work and building a business, they just think about how much time they've got to do it. But they forget about the force multiplier, which is the thing that really matters. Because what starts to happen here is, if you take someone here who has 10 units of time and 2 units of focus, then they're going to have 20 units of productivity, right? But you can become really efficient with this, because another way to achieve 20 units of productivity is if you had half the time, 5, right? If you have half the time, if you only have 5 units of time, but you have double the focus, right? We go from 2 to 4, then you achieve the same result. So this is the point, right? You can spend less time making more progress, or the same level of progress, if you just have more focus. So focus is the most important thing to time. People don't understand time, people don't really get how it works, and that's okay, but focus is the main thing. So going back to my example here, right, 10 units of time, 2 units of focus, this person's going to have 20 units of productivity, right? And this person here, 10 units of time, 4 units of focus, well, they're going to have 40 units of productivity, right? Person 3 has 10 units of time and 9 units of focus, well, they're going to have 90 units of productivity, right? This person here is 5 times more likely to make progress than this person up here. So who do you think is going to win and who do you think is going to lose, right? They're all working 10 hours, but their work isn't equal. Not all people work equally, right? And what I mean by that is some people are able to get way more out of the hours they're given than other people, and that's purely dependent on their ability to concentrate and just do one thing. Focus, if we define it, is simply the act of doing one thing at a time. It's being able to hold, however many billions of neurons you have in your brain and dedicate every single one of them to one thing. And when you do that, you do it really well. For example, this video could be an hour long, right? And for me to make this video, it's going to take me an hour because I'm focused. I haven't got any notifications on. I'm not getting distracted. And it's just that. But for a lot of people to sit down and make a 1 hour video, they're going to procrastinate and take ages to sort of set it all up and procrastinate. And they've got to write a script and they've got to edit it and do all this stuff. I'm just going to focus and just focus on the thing, which is just producing content that you like, right? So this is why focus is so important, because you are up against other people. You are competing with people, and you cannot really compete on time. It's impossible to get more time. You can optimize your time. So, for example, instead of going to the gym, you just go for a run, because then you don't have to drive to the gym, and you might save half an hour a day, which is 800 hours a year or something crazy like that, right? So you can slightly get more time, but not really. You can't really compete on time. The advantage and the leverage and asymmetry of competition, of beating your competition that you can get in this category is not that significant. But this one here is huge, because if you're up against someone and they have 1 unit of focus and you have 2, now you are twice as likely to beat them, right? So let's actually start getting into some practical advice on how to achieve this and how you can actually focus to make more money and more progress and basically just destroy everyone in your way, okay? So we're going to start with a real simple point. And that first one is actually your diet, right? Now, I'm going to give you 5 pieces of information here. I'm going to do them in no order. I'm not going to say that I'm going to save the most important one to the end, just to keep you around on this video. I'd like to think that if you're learning about focus, you actually have the ability to just sit and just watch a video, for crying out loud, without having to click off. So I don't really feel the need for YouTube retention strategies here. So we're going to go through diet, and then we're going to go through a bunch of other pieces of advice that you can find. So diet's a simple one, right? And it really all revolves around carbs, carbohydrates. In fact, one thing that really helped with my focus, right, is I do intermittent fasting. So I usually don't eat until about 1 p.m., 2 p.m. I don't eat breakfast. I haven't done it for 7 years now. And what I would find a couple of years ago is what was happening is I'd get to lunchtime, I'd eat lunch, and then the afternoon would sort of be a write-off. And my unit of focus could go from an 8 in the morning, and it would be cut down to a 2 or a 3 in the afternoon. After lunch, it would just completely go to the bottom, basically. And so this was basically happening was because I was ingesting a ton of carbs at lunchtime, right? So what you want to try to avoid doing is ingesting any form of carbohydrate or sugar during your working day. So in those 10 hours that you are working, you want to avoid carbohydrates, right? The reason you want to do this is because they take so much energy for your body to digest. And so the way it works is if this is your desk, well, let's just do this. If this is your desk here, right, I don't know if you can see this, I'll draw a bit bigger. This is your desk, right, your laptop's at your desk, and you're sat at your desk here, working, in your chair, whatever, right? This laptop, for you to focus and work on this laptop is going to require energy, right? Focus requires a lot of energy. But if you've just eaten a huge meal and you've just tried to digest a bunch of carbohydrates and a bunch of sugar and stuff, what's going to happen is all of the energy that should be going into your work and into your focused work is going to be going to your gut to deal with the actual meal you've just eaten, right? So one of the biggest and simplest hacks that I've found for improving focus throughout the workday is just do not eat carbohydrates at lunch. Don't do it. Don't eat bread at lunch, don't eat pasta at lunch, don't eat rice at lunch, don't eat sweet potato, any sugar, any fruit, any milk, anything, really. Just don't eat anything. Don't eat anything sweet. No sweetener, none of that. If you want to actually see what I had for lunch today, I took a picture of it earlier in anticipation of making this video. Or maybe it's not on my iCloud. Unfortunately, it's not there. But literally, all I ate today was just, I'll see if I can put a picture on the screen if I remember. But all I ate for lunch today was just a ribeye steak and 3 eggs. And then I had some hot sauce as well, right? Now that might sound kind of insane, and it might sound like I've got some sort of learning difficulties because that's a weird meal to eat, right? But the point is I'm not digesting any carbs. I'm not eating anything that's going to spike my insulin, spike my energy levels, and then sacrifice like my internal ability to, you know, catalyze this energy. It's kind of insane because if you eat carbs and if you eat like fat, like loads of sugar and carbs and stuff like that, fat and protein's fine. But if you eat tons of carbs, like what basically happens, at least to me, is like my body spends more energy burning the carbs than it gains from the carbs. And the energy that it gets, it spits out in like 6 hours time. By that point, I'm trying to relax, right? So I don't eat any carbohydrates until my second meal of the day. And so if you're wondering what my diet and schedule looks like, and I know this sounds so simple and so rudimentary, like, oh, I thought he was going to give me some crazy woo-wah technique, like he's just telling me to not eat carbs, what an idiot. But I promise, just try it. You know, I get up at like 7, and then I eat my first meal at like 1 p.m., which is literally just like typically, usually like 1,200 calories. But this is literally just 350 grams of ribeye, and usually 3 to 4 eggs, right? And then I continue my work until about 7 p.m., until about 8 p.m. And then at 8 p.m. I eat my second meal, where I'll usually eat like, you know, typically 1,800 calories. And I basically have exactly what I had here, but I have a load of sweet potato fries as well, like just sweet potato in an air fryer, right? And so I'm eating a ton of carbs, like typically 600 to 700 to 800 grams of sweet potato in the evening, but I'm doing it after I finish work. So the digestion of that does not interfere with my work. You kind of have to think of it like this. During your work day, you can either work or you can digest, right? That's kind of how I see it. And this is the first of 5 things that I have used to obtain incredible, insane levels of focus. Like, focus on a level that you probably can't even comprehend yet. You know, like imagine being able to sit down and, well, as an example of this, can I give you, so look, I'll take you over here, look, right? So right now, I'm reading this book here, right? Let me show you. Let's just come back through here. So, where am I? Here I am. Okay. So right now, I'm reading this book.
Oh, kijk eens jongens, kijk eens. Helemaal wit, oud. En ze natuurlijk gelijk.
Right, about Caesar, right, Julius Caesar, who took over the sort of revolutionized Rome. And I have read nearly half the book, and I've done this all in a couple of sittings, right? So imagine being able to sit down and open a book and read uninterrupted, unencumbered by distraction, and just with complete focus for like 6 hours. That's kind of what you can accomplish and achieve. And I've still got a long way to go with my focus. I know people that can just sit down and read for like 14 hours a day, right? There's levels to this stuff, and I am by no means, you know, the be-all and end-all of focus here. But like, how do you think your life would change if you could actually just sit down and work and just do what you know you need to do for like 12 hours a day? Well, you probably, like, success isn't difficult. It's about figuring out what to do and just doing it for a fair few months, and then usually you get something, right? But in this instance, it's really as simple as just like figuring out how to focus, right? So what's next on the list? Let me check. Okay. So we've gone through the diet one. It's very simple. Just avoid sugar at all costs, in any way, shape, or form. Like, you can eat like complex carbs in the evening, but don't be eating sugar because it will just completely ruin your ability to focus. Your brain on sugar is just kind of insane. I also don't drink caffeine. I do smoke cigarettes very, very rarely, right? Do I smoke cigarettes? So I'm not like a smoker. So I don't drink caffeine, I don't smoke, I don't take any drugs, I don't eat any sugar. There's no real dietary or consumed stimulants, right, that are going to increase my brain's inability to focus. lot of people say that caffeine and nicotine aids focus and helps you focus. I just think that's cope, and they're just using that as an excuse to hide behind their addiction, personally, right? So the next thing is what you do in the morning, right? So I'm going to put this. So we've done diet. Can you see this up here? I'll just put it down here. So we've done diet. So the second thing is your morning. And I'm talking about before work, right? So what you need to understand is your brain works on a wavelength or a frequency, right? And I don't mean this in some sort of woo-wah, hippy-dippy, like, you know, oh, you want to level your, you know, you're on a certain vibe or something like that. What I'm referring to is your brain basically has like a wavelength. And depending on the wavelength that it's sitting in will depend on like how your thoughts manifest, how your behavior manifests. For example, if you're sitting, meditating and focusing on one thing for like 20 minutes, your brain will be in a certain wavelength. But if you're playing a video game that's, you know, really intense, and you're listening to really loud music and you're stimulated, it will have a different level of wavelength. And it's very difficult to go from one wavelength to the other, right? So for example, if you are in a calm, tranquil, focused state, you will feel resistance towards going to a stimulated, chaotic state. Same thing, if you're in a stimulated, chaotic state, you will feel resistance to enter a calm, tranquil state. It's very difficult if this is, you know, if this wavelength here, right, represents focus, and this, no, if this represents focus, right, down here, and this represents chaos, right, which is basically just you clicking through YouTube and listening to music, and then you're talking to someone, and you've got another notification here and an email here, and now you're working on this and this, and you've got this open, and it's just chaos, right? All these distractions. If this is chaos, it's very difficult to switch between these two states, right? So to go from a nice, steady, calm, focused wavelength to a chaotic one is difficult. You won't want to do that. And the same thing here, your brain needs to have a lot of time before it can reach a different sort of level of wavelength, right? So the point I'm making here is the thing that you do, or what you do before your work has a huge impact on how you approach your work, right? So, for example, if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is check your phone, reply to a bunch of messages, scroll on Instagram, go on a filthy website and, you know, get some dopamine through, you know, jacking off, whatever, and then if you're brushing your teeth and listening to music, then you go and eat a load of sugary cereal or jam or toast or gluten or whatever, carbs, right? And then on top of that, like, you're also on the phone to someone, and then you drive to the gym, but you're listening to really loud music. And then, like, what's happening is you're stimulating your brain, and you're essentially introducing lots and lots of novel stimuli, which is basically, the word novel denotes new, right? So when you're in an environment like this, and, you know, what's going to happen is lots of stimuli is going to fly at you, right? So this stimuli can either be environmental or personal. So an environmental stimuli, for example, could be, if I was making this video right now and a bird flew into the window, I would look, you would look. When a novel stimuli enters the environment or the human perception of awareness, we have no choice but to look. This is an evolutionary response to novelty, because if we don't look, it could be a tiger looking to kill us in the bushes, right? Back in the day, from the old evolutionary standpoint. So evolutionary stimuli is kind of uncommon and rare. You know, because, for example, if I'm in my house on my own, if there's not a bird flying into the window, there's not really, the environment's not throwing anything at me. If someone knocks on the door, that's a novel stimuli. But your brain is built to deal with novel stimuli, you know, it's an intermittent stimuli. But if you wake up in the morning and you're stimulating your brain and you're stimulating your dopaminergic system and your serotonin systems and your nervous systems in so many different ways, it puts you into that chaotic wavelength, right? If we want to be, you know, nice steady wavelength, but if you wake up and you check your phone, and you go on Snapchat, and you go on stories, and you check your emails, and you reply to someone here, and you're listening to music here, and then you're also masturbating here, and then you're also eating sugar here, and then you're talking to someone else here, you know, you can probably think of all these behaviors that you do in the morning, right? You're putting your brain into a state that is not conducive to focus. And so if you do this for the first 45 minutes of the day, or even the first 10 minutes of the day before you get into work, it is so difficult to achieve and accomplish the wavelength that your brain needs to properly focus, because you're so stimulated. It's kind of like, you know, if we look at it like this, on a graph, so we've got well, how do we want to draw this? So here you've got focus, right? And then here we've got stimulation. Stimulation. Let's just put calmness. So this is the opposite of stimulation, right? So the more calm we are, the better our focus will be, and the less calm we are, the less we'll be. And it will go like this, right? And so this is going to be like if you're waking up and stimulating your brain, and it's just chaos. Like, how can you expect your brain to go from 10 different personally novel stimuli that are very stimulating and rewarding instantly to sitting down and single-minded focus on one thing? Focus is the art of just putting all your attention and concentration and neurons into one activity. So if you're going to ask your brain to do that, it helps if that's the first thing in the morning. Because if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you ask your brain to do is try and focus on 10 different things at once, when you come to try and just focus on one, your brain's not in the right place to do that. It's not in the right state, right? It's not warmed up, so to speak. It's warmed down, if anything, right? It would be like trying to exercise when you literally the first thing when you get out of bed. Your body's not ready, right? So this is a really important thing to know. If you combine this with the diet, it's really good. So let me give you an example of what I do in the morning, right? And this is basically my routine at the moment, and this allows me to focus pretty well. So let me just get some water. So I wake up at typically anywhere between 7 and 9 a.m. I haven't had an alarm for quite a while now, but I'll wake up, and what I do is I go and run 5 kilometers, either on the beach or just up and down the street, and then I get in the sea, and then I do a brief calisthenics workout, right? And then I get back in the sea, and then I meditate. And then get back in the sea after the workout. So I run, I work out, and then I get in the sea because I'm all sweaty and I don't want to be all sweaty. Get in the sea, quickly swim, get out the sea, and then I sit on the beach. You probably won't be able to see it from here, but I sit on the beach in the sun in a chair for 20 minutes and I meditate, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then after I've meditated, I get back in the sea because usually I'm all hot and sweaty again from the sun. And then I dry myself off. I go and change my clothes upstairs. I walk down to my desk and I start work. Right? When I'm running, I'm not listening to music. I haven't at this point replied to anyone on my phone. I haven't even checked my phone at this point. And I haven't really talked to anyone or done anything or anything. All I do is I wake up, I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth, right? I come downstairs, I put my running shoes on, I run, I come back, I do calisthenics for about 20 minutes, get in the sea, meditate, get back in the sea, get out the sea, go and get changed, and then I walk to work. That whole routine might take me maybe an hour to complete. Runs about 30 minutes. No, it's about an hour and a half, right? But the point is I'm doing these activities, but there's not an abnormal or unhealthy amount of novel stimuli, right? Like when I'm running, I might be thinking about something, and when I'm working out, I'm just working out. And when I'm meditating, I'm just meditating. I'm not introducing chaos, and my brain is being able to achieve this nice, steady wavelength, right? It's not going all over the place and all up and down. So what you want to do is do an audit on your morning, and also you want to do an audit on your lunch break, right? Because the same thing applies on your lunch break. If you finish working at 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. and you go to have lunch, and then when you're cooking, you're listening to music, and then you're also you have a podcast in, and then you're talking to someone, you're messaging someone on WhatsApp, but then also you're checking Instagram whilst also watching YouTube. It's insane. You're going to do that for an hour and then expect your brain to be able to go back to a focused wavelength. It's not going to happen. It's just stupid, right? So that's the second thing, is the novel stimuli that you introduce voluntarily into your immediate perceptual awareness before work and during your lunch break. After work, go balls to the wall with it. Sometimes after work, 8 p.m. will roll around and I'll have finished dinner and I'll be carved out of my mind, and I'll go and walk on the beach listening to really loud music, and I'm texting 4 different people at once. That's fine, but just not during the workday, right? Save all of that desire for stimuli and that craving for chaos, essentially, for when you finish your work, okay? So that's the second thing. Now, the third thing is actually awareness, right? And then there's 2 more after this, one of which will really help you. The other one will just help you a little bit, but one of them is really cool. So I can't even spell awareness, right? So awareness. So, in order for us to, like I said at the beginning, in order for us to become focused, we have to learn to stop being distracted. And there's nothing really more distracting than your thoughts, right? So, what you want to try and learn to do is become aware of your thoughts. And I know this sounds simple and obvious and like trite, which is something I really want to avoid in this channel, but it's imperative to your success that you actually become aware of what's going on in your life and in your, in your brain, in your behavior. Because if I ask you like, hey, what were you thinking like 2 minutes ago? Probably can't remember, right? And not that you should, not that a sane person can remember what they've been thinking all the time, but it helps for you to develop a level of awareness around your distractions. Because really, there's only two things in life that can distract you, right? An internal stimuli and an external stimuli. So, an external stimuli is a distraction that comes from your environment, right? Your immediate, either digital or physical environment. For example, if I'm recording this right now and someone knocks on the door, I am cognitively obliged to pay attention to that, right? Or if I'm recording this video right now and on this phone, like a notification crops up, then my attention's going to go to it. I can give you a literal example of what just happened. I was on this notes app here, and I accidentally shook it, and it said, do you want to undo the typing? You know that like undo typing thing you get on notes? And then my phone sort of shook a little bit, and then now I just looked at it and paid attention, and then I came straight back to this video, right? So that's an example of a distraction, right? That is an external stimuli, something that your environment has produced that has taken your attention and awareness, or really it's just your attention, away from the one thing that you're doing. The internal stimuli is basically a thought, right? This is something that happens in your head when you're trying to do something and then you start thinking about something. And then before you know it, like, you're off and away. Like, if I'm trying to make this, I'm not even trying to make this video, but let's say, for example, that I'm trying to read a book and then I get like 5 lines deep and then I start thinking about the carrot cake I have in the fridge. And then I'm like, oh, I really want that carrot cake. Oh, I actually wonder if there's actually any carrot in that cake. Like, also, why are carrots orange? I thought they used to be purple. Like, and then you just start thinking, and then you're not even doing the thing you want to do anymore. And most people are very, very bad at managing their internal stimuli because they're simply not aware of it. And so, what I'm going to talk about in a second here is meditation and how to actually meditate for focus. And it's a simple practice that I've been doing for years now that you can do every day to just drill your focus and become aware of it. But you need to become painfully and cognizantly aware of your thoughts. You need to learn to basically like understand them, analyze them, not analyze them too much, but I'm going to give you a simple activity for this in just a second. One thing that I like to do, I don't do it so much anymore because I don't need to, but what I used to have by my desk was a simple notepad and a pen. This resembles a pen, all right, for argument's sake. Simple pen, right? What I used to do is have a notepad and a pen by my desk. And when I was working, what I would do, every time I got distracted, I would write down what distracted me. And what I was looking to essentially do is I did this for about 30 days, and over 30 days, I put all of the distractions in a sheet, and I bucketed my distractions. And what this allowed me to do was become aware of what was distracting me. So I started to write it down. Like, it could be a Slack message, or it could be an email, or it could be a thought, or it could be a craving for food, or something, or this, that, or the other. And what I started to do is I just started to note my distractions. And if you do this enough, and if you become aware enough of your distractions, you'll start to like interfere with their ability to actually like get you off the track and stop you from focusing. So this is just a simple little exercise that you can do. It's basically just like get a notepad, start trying to work on something, and then you will get distracted, right? And when you do, remember to note it down, because what will happen if you do this for long enough is when you're working, what's going to start to happen is a distraction is going to start to form, and you'll notice it and become aware of it before it can fully form, and then you'll be able to sort of bat it away. So this leads me on to another point of awareness, which is meditation, right? Now, another thing that I wanted to add before we move on to meditation here is that the Pomodoro technique is complete BS. And if you believe that the human brain is only capable of focusing for 25 minutes, you are, quite frankly, a silly person, right? I'm not going to call you an idiot for believing information that is widely believed, because that's just the human condition. but like, if it wasn't, like, I don't understand how people can think that the human mind can only focus for 25 minutes at a time before it needs a break. That's insane. If you think about that for a second, like, that's just stupid. Because, you know, if you think about us from an evolutionary standpoint and how our focus has been, you know, developed through time, through history, through evolution, like the human brain, we have to sit there, like if let's say you're hunting an animal, right? Sometimes we have to sit there and stare at like some trees for like 6 hours before something happened. And we'd have to sit there and focus on the trees because if a deer ran past and we missed it, our family wouldn't eat that night. The human brain is capable of focusing for hours and